Well, I guess I'll talk now. It was my last free weekend living in Southern California, and I wanted to make sure I didn't waste it. So I forced myself to wake up at 4 a.m. and drive all the way to the Southern Sierras. I've always had a fascination with the giant sequoias, and what better way to spend a weekend than to go and camp under them?
So I guess the question is, can I make it all the way up to the top of that rock today?
As I started making my way up the foothills, the whole place started looking like the set of a Cheech and Chong movie.
It's like super hazy from all the fires, but there's Morro Rock. I think I'm gonna go climb it.
But all of the haze was really leading to some nice dramatic lighting as I began driving into the giant forest.
I guess it's more of a staircase than a trail, but whoa. You can actually see the forest fire off in the distance. And I guess all this is just haze from that one little fire over there. That's kind of crazy.
As I was getting near the top of Morro Rock, it was a good time to load up some film on the 35mm, and I figured Fuji C200 would complement the greenery nicely. Well, maybe when I got to the actual green parts. It was pretty clear the overview was a little too smoked out, so I began making my way down to the forested part of the park. Since it's one of the major staples of the place, I figured I'd go say hi to the General Sherman tree, but it seemed like maybe half of the population decided to do the same, so it felt a little more like I was walking around an Endor-themed theme park. I somehow managed to break away from the main pack and find this incredible stump, and I thought it'd make a great first composition on the medium format camera. The hardest part of photographing these things with no people in the shot is just showing off their size.
I just can't get over the mere scale of these things. I mean, to give you some perspective, I mean, you know, this is a person standing in front of it. Pretty fucking big.
I fell in love with this particular grouping of trees, so much so that I got shots of them with both cameras. I think the 4:5 aspect ratio on the medium format camera complements the trees a little bit more, but the fact that my Nikon FM has a timer function made it possible for me to grab some self-portraits. And, you know, obviously you clicked on the video to look at me. I was more interested in checking out the Kings Canyon side of the park since I didn't have time to explore it during my last visit. So I hopped back on the General's Highway and started heading in that direction.
Well, I guess they're doing some controlled burns or something up there, so I'm probably gonna be sitting here for a long time.
It's been about 30 minutes, but I see cars coming this way now, which is giving me hope that we're gonna start moving soon.
Now we're just parked in the middle of the fire.
I should probably roll the windows up. Oh my god. It's like so on fire.
By the time I had finally made it through to Kings Canyon, I figured I'd set up camp and start cooking for the night, which means it's time for a relaxing. With an incredibly full stomach, I finished setting up the rest of camp, and all that was left to do was kick back, enjoy the fire, and do a bit of stargazing. The next morning was a cold and foggy one, and for some reason I thought it'd be wise to begin driving to Panoramic Point. You know, to get a panorama of whatever's 10 feet in front of me.
Yeah, it's not looking like it's gonna be too much of a view.
But at the very least, driving through the misted out woods was pretty cool, and helped revive the fantasy that maybe one day I could awkwardly stand there as Edward Cullen offers me a piggyback ride. Anyway. really wish I took some digital black and white shots here, but I suppose I thought I was making masterpieces on the Mamiya.
Well, it looks like the fog's finally starting to clear up. Some jackass is flying his drone, so it's kind of killing the serenity, but, you know, whatever.
The drone was kind of killing the vibe, and the place was definitely beginning to get more crowded. And with me coming out to the woods to avoid awkward social interactions, I decided to bail out of there and head deeper into the park. It was very clear the haze wasn't going to clear up too much.
So I guess this is supposed to be a vista overlook, and it's quite the view.
So whenever I found an overlook that I could actually see something at, I would just take a second to ponder a bit. Eventually, I had finally found myself at Hume Lake, and since I had only had coffee at that point, I figured it was time for a little breakfast. And with a belly full of overpriced oats, I went off to explore the lake a little bit. I think the Sierra's blend of fall foliage and evergreen trees is so interesting. Hume Lake was a gorgeous surprise to me, and I just spent the next few hours driving around in circles taking it all in. I love days with no plans, especially in places like Sequoia and Kings Canyon. The random aspens poking out of the firs just filled me with some strange childlike giddiness. I just began driving all around the parks until I eventually ended up even going off-road.
I'm probably not supposed to be on this road with a sedan.
You can't ask for better days than this. There's good weekends, and then there's weekends that become so good that they're spiritual. I'd spend my entire life just wandering through these mountains if I could. Unfortunately though, standard societal practice deems that you work on Mondays, so I had to start making my way back towards urban hell. But that doesn't mean you can't enjoy the drive out.
God, this car is invincible.
After a quick pizza pit stop, I allowed myself to get distracted by every giant tree that I passed by.
I just seriously can't get over how cool, like, just the texture of the wood is. It's like got all this little stringy stuff, and then it's got like this like hollow knocking sound. These are just like the coolest living things on the planet. They're so cool.
Seeing and touching living things that predate most modern religions make you feel so small in the absolute best way possible. Anyway, now that I'm done gushing about trees, it's time to leave. But of course, the Sierras don't just do casual goodbyes. So the mountains decided to give me one of the greatest displays of clouds and twilight ever as I made my way back into the foothills. Well, that's a wrap on California. I'm moving off to Colorado soon, so I'll just be closer to a different range of mountains. But for now, it's a farewell to a beautiful place. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.